transport urine.
Good, yes. Transport urine. Kind of sounds like what part of your digestive system?
Esophagus.
Esophagus, yeah, because the only job of the esophagus was to transport food down to the stomach. So here we kind of got a similar structure. Only job is to transport down to that bladder. Have you ever thought you were going to pee so bad that your pee was going to back up into the kidney?
Yeah.
Can it happen?
Back little Robert stays full.
Yeah. Can you back up your urine into your kidney?
I guess so. No, because peristalsis would probably prevent it.
Right. We actually thankfully do not back up urine into our kidneys. Wouldn't that be a mess, wouldn't it? When your ureters dump into the bladder, you'll notice these two little tiny holes here where the ureters dump in. When the bladder is empty, it collapses in on itself, kind of like your stomach, but then when it starts to fill with urine, it starts to expand. It actually should shut off any kind of backflow up into the kidney. So unless you have like massive amounts of urine, I'm talking like a liter or more here, there should be no backing up of urine up through these ureters into the kidney.
With water intoxication.
In that case, maybe you've had so much, if it can get out, but most of the time that goes into the cells and bloats them. But if for whatever reason somebody can't physically urinate it away, then that may be a case where it starts to overwhelm the ureters, and I'm talking liter here or more that may start backing. But for most people with normal urinary systems, this is not going to be an issue of ever having it back up. These two little ureter openings, along with the urethra opening down below, creates a triangular area known as what?
Trigon.
Trigon, good. And here again, you'll notice we have a similar setup. We have mucosa, we have a muscularis layer, we have an adventitious layer. But this time I wanted to draw your attention to the type of mucosa. What kind of epithelial tissue is inside your bladder?
Transitional.
Transitional. Do you recall how transitional looks? Stretches. Good. So this is kind of an unusual type of epithelial tissue. This tissue is meant to allow for the stretch of your bladder as your bladder fills with fluid. Kind of one of the few places in your body that we do have transitional epithelium. Notice the muscularis layer here in your bladder is actually similar to your stomach. Your stomach had 3 muscularis layers, and likewise your bladder has 3 layers as well. So we're all about stretching to accommodate the amount of fluid that can collect here inside your bladder. At the base of your bladder, we know that the urethra leaves and carries fluid to the outside of the body. There's also 2 sphincters situated there as well. It sounds just like the digestive system, doesn't it? There's an internal sphincter and there's an external sphincter. Which one of those tends to be the voluntarily controlled sphincter?
External.
External. So likewise with the way the digestive system works, the internal stays closed. It prevents leakage of urine to the outside of the body. It does take good nervous system control for us to actually keep that external sphincter closed and also prevent the leakage if it's time to go to the bathroom. So kind of a nervous system set up here for both young kids and older people. That nervous system has to keep those sphincters closed in order to keep us from losing continence, so to speak.
Would you suggest we focus on the tissues for each?
I would look at the mucosa lining for your bladder, that transitional, which happens to be the mucosa lining for your urethra, or your ureters, as well.
The bladder and ureters?
Yeah, bladders and ureters are transitional. That sounds like a good multiple choice question. The bladders and ureters are transitional epithelium. That's a key thing to know. How about questions on that page? Let's talk about the process of urination or voiding. Here we have yet a third name for that process. Micturition, right. So we've got multiple words here for the process of urinating. Micturition is simply voiding or removing urine from your bladder. We know that during a 24-hour period we can essentially remove about 1.5 liters of fluid from our body. So to prevent ourselves from being dehydrated, how much should we be taking in?
Same amount.
Same amount, exactly. So the kidneys and the urinary system is actually our biggest loss area for water. Since we can lose around 1.5 liters of fluid per day through our kidney and renal system, we need to make sure we take in at least as much as we put out to keep proper hydration. So your bladder can actually expand and hold approximately 200 mils of fluid. That urine can start to stretch inside the bladder, and the stretch receptors here send nerve impulses to your spinal cord. The spinal cord makes you feel like the bladder is starting to get full, and then you start realizing it's time to find a bathroom. So those stretch receptors is what notifies us that the bladder is becoming full of urine and that we need to remove that urine from the bladder. 200 mils, do you know how much that is?
Coke can's $3.54.
Exactly. Coke can's $3.54. So you're talking a Coke can, you're talking what, 2/3 or so of a Coke can? That's a lot of urine if you think about it. You know, that's quite a bit of urine that we can hold and have those stretch receptors still allow us to keep it.
But it says that the bladder holds around 500 milliliters full.
Full, and it can even stretch under extreme conditions to 1 liter. Ow. Ow.
That's bad for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because those muscles stretch and they have to go back to their original shape. So, yeah, if you're stretching constantly, then you also have the issue for if there's bacteria in the urine, the longer you leave it in here, the longer it has a chance to party. So, yeah, it's better to get rid of it more frequently than it is to keep it and let it expand. That's one way, but another way is, especially for females, is the wiping direction. You know, guys don't have to worry about this, but of course for females, if you wipe back to front, then you introduce fecal bacteria, and for a female, the urethra is about 1/2 inch long, so it's very short distances for those bacteria to go up into the bladder and cause, like you said, a UTI. So yeah, if you urinate more frequently, the bacteria are washed out more frequently, so one way to get rid of a UTI is to drink like crazy. I know that the old rumor there is to drink alcohol and flush it away, but the more frequently you can move urine out of the bladder, the more quickly you can get rid of the infection. Cranberry juice, yeah, they acidify that environment. He's loud today, I think. Okay. So yeah, under extreme conditions for a person who maybe has trouble urinating, you know, we're talking 1 liter here for this bladder. That's a huge amount of fluid that can be stored here. In cases where you may have that much, it may have to be catheterized, and, you know, moved off that way. But you know, that's an extreme amount that you can hold there under extreme conditions. All right, so the urethra, how is it different in males versus females?
Length.
Yeah, females are definitely shorter. This is a male model, as you can see, and this always reminds me of an angry bird. It looks like a bird beak and bird eyes and bird eyebrows.
Woody woodpecker.
Woodpecker, yeah. So, of course, male urethras are much longer, on average of inches, in comparison to a female's 1/2 inch of urethra. So there's one reason where males may get less UTIs, urinary tract infections, than females, simply because the bacteria would have way longer to travel to get into the bladder or urethra than simply for a female.
More difficult for kidney stones.
Oh yeah, talk about a longer way for the kidney stone to come out. Yeah, that's the trade-off there. So you can see for a male, there's an additional gland that actually circles around the urethra. That's what we're thinking here is bird beak. That is the prostate. They call it prostate or prostate gland. And you can see that on the back side here, it does encircle the urethra. And in addition, we also have seminal vesicles and the vas deferens tube that travel over here to the urethra and join with the urethra. We'll talk in the reproductive system about how urine and semen do not leave the urethra at the exact same time. There's a sphincter here that cuts off flow of one or the other, so you're not getting both ejected through the urethra simultaneously. Wouldn't that be a mess? Because urine that would kill
Kill a lot of things.
Yeah. Hey, birth control.
I want baby babies.